See, I don't know what happened because the timer said one thing,
Yeah, but it's only
my clock
7:58.
says something else,
All right.
but I got a customer that says it's 8 o'clock already.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
My phone
Either
says it's
way,
7. My phone says it's 7:58. My computer says it's 7:58. But you know what? Dwayne and
hey, if
Julian
you
are
get
here, so
if
we're
you
here.
get 2 bonus minutes today, great. We we're glad you tuned in.
Uh-huh.
Whether you're in frozen South Carolina, frozen Texas, or frozen Alabama,
Uh,
we appreciate you. If you don't get here for another couple minutes, we still love you. So, yeah,
oh, we have 10. We have 10 early birds, so we're good. We're good.
yeah, we do have some early birds, and that's great. I love people that are
Yeah.
early. In fact, you know what, Jeff?
Uh,
Just to thank the people that were here early, I'm going to show something that was sent to me today
do it.
about
Do it.
a
You got one
dear
minute.
a dear person that watches the show regularly. They're regular watchers of the show, but everybody loves them. And it's in
Do
the
it.
spirit of Christmas.
Well, I didn't know if you're going to keep it for next week because next week is your Christmas week, right? Do you want to save
Oh,
that?
I
Save
am.
that
I'm
for
gonna
next week.
save it for next
Yeah,
week.
because I don't know
We
where I'll be next
have
week. So,
we have a friend of the show, a contributor to the show, been a guest on the show that we were recently made aware they used to be famous.
yeah,
So
next week. Save it for next week.
we're
I mean, you can
gonna.
show it. You can show it if you want. I don't want to miss it, and I don't know what kind of connection I'm going to have next week.
So you know what?
Actually, wait. I don't. I won't be here next week because,
I was gonna say I
well,
think
I
you'll
don't know.
be in an airport
I'm on
maybe
a. I think I'm in a plane somewhere, but sorry.
if you're lucky.
It's okay. I've seen it before, so I'm okay.
So do we
Yeah, do it.
share?
Whatever. Well, I mean, you're into your time now, so
Out of hell blue,
Oh, please tell. Why
Christmas
is it not playing
without
the sound?
you
I can hear.
is so
You can.
I
blue.
can.
Just thinking about you. Decorations of
On the
red
spotlight right
on
there.
a green Christmas tree won't be the same day if you're not here with me.
All right. That is Kelly Gear. One of our he actually has already checked in today.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know how
I,
old he was when he did that, but it's got to be like 30 years ago, maybe more. Anyway,
and
we're
somebody
moving
found it
on. Let's not embarrass him. Moving
and
on.
stuck it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um. So
No, it was a singing competition, so it was being recorded anyway. But yeah, anyway, moving on.
that was a singing competition.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's
It's like one of
pretty
those.
awesome.
Yeah, it was like one of those amateur nights somewhere, some singing competition in Canada. So
So
anyway,
is he like secretly,
I don't
you
ask
know,
questions. Just move on.
yeah,
Let's get to the feed. And quit eating dinner. If you can't eat on time, you ain't eating on the show. Let's go.
just stop. Okay.
Just stop.
So
That's rude. You can't eat in
tonight's
front of people
show,
unless you got enough to share.
I mean, I'll send them some.
Okay.
Tonight's show came about kind of as a joke, not as a joke.
There ain't no joke.
Because everybody always talks about, I use this to measure my feed, or I use that to measure my feed. How do you measure your feed? I really wanted to find the Vienna sausage can, but Jeff found the chicken Vienna, which is really more applicable since we talk about poultry. And it's at least mostly chicken.
Well,
You don't know what
even
else
the
is in it.
other. Okay, even the other Vienna sausage cans is beef, pork, and chicken. Okay,
Oh yeah, it's all of
based
it.
on the color. I ain't really sure what's in there, but
So
we
I'm
used to
thinking
feed
like
'em to the
everything
bears.
that the Zaxby's and the KFC and all those places, it's probably everything that they don't get.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's not. Yeah.
I don't know. But what I did was I've got a video that I'm going to share, and I got the Vienna sausage can, the potted meat can, actual measuring cups, some of those 2-ounce ramekin like to go. When you go somewhere and you get a to go box, they give you to go sauces that are about an inch or so tall. Those are 1.8 something ounces. So I got some of those and a few different things because everybody says, okay, well, I need to feed my birds 4 ounces a day. They're feeding a regular feed. Once they start having to ration their feed, it's a little less. It goes around whatever. So I grabbed the things that I could grab on a short notice to make a video and come up with like the whys or the whats. Do you really know how much you're feeding when you scoop out a Vienna sausage can? Jeff, do you know how many ounces of, I'm not going to call it meat, but stuff that's in those Vienna sausages? Do you know how many ounces comes in one of those regular cans?
4.6 ounces.
Yeah.
4.6.
And I would think, well, if somebody's giving it a whole 4.6, that's a lot. And you got your Army spoons. Is it the Army tablespoon? Which I don't know if not everybody has used a real Army mess kit, but the tablespoon from an Army kit
Is huge.
I would not trust to measure it with because it's good if you're in a hurry and you're eating a bowl of cereal, but if you're trying to bake a cake, it might not turn out right. But there's all that kind of stuff out there. So let me bring this screen up and see how long it takes to add this video in. Oh, it has not finished exporting yet. Yeah, when I originally downloaded it, I need to adjust my camera because I thought I was shooting in regular, like
SD
1080p, whatever. But based on this video only being a couple minutes and showing up like 3.5 gigs, part of me wonders if I didn't shoot it in 4K. So
some people's kids. You're supposed to be the IT tech around here, right?
hey, look, I didn't adjust the time.
So today, we're going to do another experiment.
Yeah, because I did the one a while back about fish meal and compared the two, the breeder supplement and the fish meal, and you can see in here on the side of the screen, I've got the different types of feed. One is a 13-way scratch. There's a 6 millimeter pellet, a 4 millimeter pellet, and a coarse mash. I got a 3 ounce spoon, a 4 ounce spoon, the potted meat can, and the Vienna can, and the scales.
Just roll on.
We're
Come
going to
on.
do
People are
one
waiting
with
to see the
different kinds of
movie, man.
feed. So we have this. It's a regionally, if you will, available pelleted feed. It's a 4 millimeter pellet. It's available most anywhere in the Southeast, give or take some places. But we're going to compare that. We're going to compare this coarse mash right here that is a custom feed. We are going to compare, I ran out of bowls, sorry. But I have another one right here that is more like a 6 millimeter feed or a 6 millimeter pellet, if that makes sense. Let me see that here. About a 6 millimeter pellet. It's a pretty big one. But what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about weighing our feed. Because, everybody says, oh, I feed this, I feed that, I feed this. But do you really know how much you feed? How are you measuring it? What does it measure to? This, that, and the other. So today I've got a set of kitchen scales. I'm going to zoom the camera in just a little bit to where you can see. Hopefully you can still hear me just fine.
And of course, those are
And
Amazon brand.
we're going to weigh out some
favorite
different
place to shop.
feeds using some common methods. First thing I want to use here is the old Vienna sausage can. And, oh, I forgot one other feed. We have this. And this is another very heavily available in the Southeast feed. It's one that's very, very commonly used with gamefowl people. If you're
That's
not
the
using
Showtime?
it, you may have a mix that you're doing yourself. That looks a lot like this.
That is
You say, oh, well,
Tucker Milling.
I only give my birds
13-way
3 ounces
conditioner.
of feed or 4 ounces of feed a day. And then, I give them plenty, or I give them plenty of feed. Well, this is the Vienna sausage can. It is level, as you can see. I just made it level on the table. And that's it. Well, now we're in milliliters. Change that. We're not doing fluid ounces. We're not going to do grams, pounds, and ounces. So that's 4.2 ounces that we just gave a bird. Now, if you're in a situation where you're trying to get a bird ready for a show and you're trying to cut down a little bit to keep it in weight and you're using that, you may want to adjust. You say, okay, well, I give mine a potted meat can twice a day. All right. Using that same blend, that potted meat can comes out to 2.5 ounces.
Holy shit.
So now you're giving your bird 5 ounces a day. Depending on the quality of the feed and everything else, you could be overdoing it, or the bird could still be hungry because you're using something that's got a lot of fillers in it. I don't know. Have to look at the tag. That's a whole different episode. All right, so dump that back in the bucket down here. Now we're going to take these pellets. And these, as you can see here, are the mini pellets. And I'm going to run my finger across. And I want to show you, this is a 4-ounce portioning spoon, commonly used in food service. You dump that in there, and you got 2.9 ounces. But the scoop said 4. Well, that's 4 ounces by volume. This is by weight. When you're feeding your birds,
with that,
you need to feed them by weight.
the thing that got me on this is a lot of people say, well, I give my birds 4 ounces a day. And I was having a conversation with a guy a couple of days ago, and he said they clean it up in like 5 minutes or less. I said, well, I mean, they could be starving. He said, but I'm feeding them good feed. Oh. This.
Because it's all a calculation off of what they should be. So, if you do that, and you keep going here, get this up to the 4 ounces. All right, now we're at the 4 ounces again. So, with the mini pellet, we have yep, they all fit. But if you can see this,
See how it's crowned
it's
at
a
the top?
heaping Vienna sausage can to give us that 4 ounces. All right, well, you say, look, man, that's not me. That's not what I'm feeding. I'm feeding those big pellets. Okay? That's all great and wonderful. Got those here. Got us a 4-ounce scoop. Gonna use that same scoop. I'll hold it over this bowl right here. We're gonna, well, yep, we got into it some. It's all right. But now we know we just have a level 4 ounce by volume spoon. We only got 3.2 ounces of actual feed. So now we're gonna slowly get this to the 4 ounces, throw our excess there, and come back with the trusty handy dandy Vienna sausage can. And we're gonna 0 that. Oh man, we barely got to 3. Well, there's 3.8. Let me see if I can get a few more pieces. Yeah, a few more pieces on there. But if I hold this back anymore, it's going to fall out.
So I started doing that, so
That's
nobody would be
how
like, well, he
heaping it
paused the
is
camera or
when
anything like that.
you're
So you can see
using
the weight
this
going
solid
back and
pellet
forth.
right here. Again, this is a nationally available, very popular, very well-known name brand
All flock.
pellet that a lot of people are using in with their feed. All right. So now we're going to talk about a coarse mash. You hear Jeff and I talk about that a whole lot. That's one that Dougie uses, and a few other guys that want to keep their secrets to what they're feeding. So we're not going to be the one to let the proverbial cat out of the bag. But we're going to go over here. We're going to get our fingers straight across. Got all of our minerals and amino acids and stuff. All right. And this is the same 4 ounce by volume scoop. Just under 3.5 ounces. So now we're going to do the same. We're going to top this off get us where we wanted to get. Come back. Going to see how much of this we can fit in the handy dandy Weener sausage can. Yeah, we got it all in there. But if you can tell, it's even more heaping. So, yeah. And just so everybody can see, this is a 4.6 ounce can. That's why it doesn't quite measure up the way it should. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to show y'all a cup of the breeder supplement. 8 ounces on the cup. Pretty level. Best I could get it with a spoon and my finger and all that. Tilting it sideways a couple times. There's that. All right. But let me show you. This is 8 ounces by volume. Measuring feed out, you're doing it 8 ounces by weight. So 8 ounces by volume of the breeder supplement, and you can really see all those goodies in there right there. Oh yeah. Got the stuff. Dude, yep. Good shot. Love it stuff. But, you know, we're at 5.1 ounces. So then it's like, okay, well, do we look around and find some more breeder supplement? Do we get, I have a 3 ounce scoop as well. So we'll use it, we'll get it. So we're gonna top this off. I had this packed in pretty good, so it's clumping a little still. You know, stuff sticks together pretty well. Let's keep going until we get to 8 ounces. And guys, I want y'all to see this because those of you that are using the supplement and you are feeding it, you know, a cup with half a 5-gallon bucket of feed, you know, that 8 ounces, or, you know, even if you're using, I know a lot of people that say, oh, I use the Weener can. That's what I use to measure everything. Well, let me show you just what you're getting in that Weener can.
This part right here was so
You finally
tedious because I
get-
didn't want to go
okay,
over 8 again.
Full 8 ounces, right there. Full 8
Well,
ounces in the
you
cup.
don't want 8 ounces for 12.5 pounds
Take
of
the
feed.
cup,
I know,
level
but
it out.
I wanted
If
to
you look on
show
this one. It's
because
almost
if
level with right where it says 12 ounces.
so, the reason I wanted to show y'all this is because when Jeff and I say a cup, we know that that cup of breeder supplement weighs what it weighs.
Yeah,
And we
5
also
point-
know that people use cups and they don't think
don't weigh
8
it.
ounces, they think the cup. So the ones that are using the cup that's 8 ounces and measuring it, that is right. When you weigh out 8 physical ounces, you got a lot too much in there. But I wanted everybody to see that so they would know, well, hey, this is this, and we all said this. That's why. We say a cup.
Measuring cup. One
Yeah, we say a measuring
cup.
cup because that's how you measure.
Mm.
Anyway,
By volume, not by weight. By weight, it's 8.1. All right. So with this, we've got 8.1 ounces of breeder supplement. No, it did go to 8. Let's say we need to take a pinch out. No, we're 8.1. Yeah, we'll take that pinch out. No, it's 8. So we've got that. Now, just for giggles, amusement, and everything else, because we like to do things right and, for science, I have this 8 ounces. I'm going to set that over there. And right here, I have, just for this, I grabbed
the bucket.
half of a 5-gallon bucket of feed.
Yeah.
Now, knowing this feed, I know that it does not have what it needs. It's not a custom mix. It's that one that is nationally available. This one is
Regional.
probably limited to Southeast. But we've got that. Now we're going to take our actual 8 ounces of breeder supplement.
Look
We're gonna
at how
toss
that dumped
in there.
out. That just looks like too
Then
much.
I'm going to bring my handy dandy scales, and I'll share these scales online. I'll share them with y'all. They're Amazon cheap.
Crap, that's way over.
I got the one that uses AAA batteries. They even have them that are rechargeable, so you can, use it if you don't have power in the cock house, wherever you mix your feed up, out in the barn, whatever, and you're good. I'm gonna pour this.
And I'm waiting on it to go up to 8 ounces by weight.
Now this is all that I had here because I use it for mixing some stuff. This is fractionated coconut oil.
Expensive stuff.
It's good though,
Not the
but
cheapest
it's not
type
cheap.
of oil you will find, but it is probably one of the best you can get straight out of the jug. And just so you can see here, obviously it's moving around and stuff, so it's fluctuating around that 8 ounce mark. But that's 8 ounces. And I'm gonna move the camera a little bit so you can see we're
Now that right is right at that 8 ounce mark.
just a little above it.
Okay.
And we're going at it by measurement. But got our feed in here. I like to take and get that started. I found that if you start it a little bit, it doesn't clump up. Then pour your liquid gold in there. And I like to start it with a spoon. But I will say this time of year, you can really tell who's mixing their feed up and who's not, and who's using the oil with their breeder supplement. Because if you do your hands down in it like this, and you get it deep and, move it all around, well, some of that oil is going to soak into your hands. And instead of having you dry, cracked hands that Nobody likes them when they start bleeding. You'll actually have what
That's
some
baby
folks
soft
call
hands right there.
baby soft hands.
Now,
Then you'll
now
have
look at that. Okay, if your feed looks like that, then you are overdoing it. But I wanted people to see, what it looks like when you have too much, obviously. And I wanted people to know why we say use a cup, because we know what it weighs. But we also want people to see, because a lot of people will, when they're feeding their birds, they will take that Vienna can and shake it instead of making sure it's rounded over the top. And, if you're not feeding something quality, that could cause a problem for you as well. Now, Daniel, I don't know if he,
a mix of
just
feed once you
thought of
put it
what
with
I
a
was
breeder
gonna
supplement
say,
that weighs like that,
knew what
and
it was
you
about
will
or what.
know
But
whether you're using
he did his. He measured his own feed out, and he figured out that what he thought was 3 ounces was 2.14. And I've seen pictures of his birds, and the man has some really nice, good looking birds. But when Jeff and I talk about when you feed a perfectly balanced or a good feed, you're actually going to save money because everybody wants to save money. Well, if you're feeding that whole Vienna can of whatever you're feeding versus 2.14 ounces, that's where you're saving money.
Well,
So
okay. All right. So
that's
let's
just one of
pause
the
for a
ways.
second. Let's just pause for a second, because the cheaper the pellet, the more the byproducts. The more the byproducts, the lower the energy. So
Yes.
your bird needs that 4 ounces, or what's in a Vienna sausage can, to try and survive and maintain a decent body condition. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a feed that has no byproducts or fillers in it, okay, like what Daniel's feeding, and the mash feed, the coarse mash feed that you just showed, if you feed more than 2.5 ounces, your birds are going to get fat, right?
Quick.
You've already been there, and Daniel's already been there. So you do not want to feed 4 ounces of a custom mix, a true custom mix, right? Not hodgepodge mix at the farm.
Oh, yeah, not something that you're like, oh,
Right.
this looks good. Let me throw all this in there.
So you're feeding 35% less with a custom mix, right? With a properly balanced custom mix, right? You're feeding 35% less. And so I don't know how to get people to, I don't know. I can't get it through people's head, right? You can feed less. It doesn't cost you any more to feed your birds quality every day than feeding them crap. It just doesn't. So put Rick. Yeah,
So,
I'm aware.
you
Not a
know,
wiener.
after now, I'm curious how many guys are like, oh man, it's like, it probably feels like it's 10 degrees outside, but I really need to go check that and see how much I'm feeding. That may be why my birds clean it up in 5 minutes or less, because I'm
Well,
giving them like an ounce and change. I don't know, but maybe we got you to think about that. I don't know.
scales off of Amazon. I bought a set. You bought a set. Roughly $10, give or take two, right? Depending on which set you get. You can
Look,
spend $20 if you want.
$7.99.
I know.
Those are $7.99. They on
If
sale
you don't
right
want
now.
to, right? If you don't want to order on Amazon, that's fine. Go to Walmart. You can get a food scale there. You can get them just about anywhere, right? They're
Go
all
to
going to
Dollar
be,
Tree.
yeah.
Oh,
So the point is weighing your feed, right? Weighing your feed. Don't, just because somebody else uses a Vienna sausage can for the cocks and the stags, and they use a potted meat can for all the hens and the pullets. Okay, that's just
And see,
I'm
that
getting
was
ready
one of
to
the
kill.
reasons. That was why I got those, because I know that's a very commonly used thing.
Very common,
And I
very
know
common.
I've watched enough videos to know that a lot of folks will take that Vienna sausage can and they'll scoop in their bucket and they'll shake it, which means there's, half inch, give or take, less than a full one, much less a rounded over one. And they're
Yeah.
they ain't getting close to 4 ounces. So
Yeah.
I wanted everybody to see that.
All right. You blew past. Go ahead. But
If
I want to go
you
back to Rex's.
All right, if you were to recommend just one book on chicken breeding, what would it be? What would it be for you, Jeff?
All right. So, Chris, you didn't kind of specify. If you're just saying you want to learn how to breed effectively, okay, whether it's inbreeding, line breeding, you know, flock mating, whatever, my go-to book is the one that Kenny Triano put together, right? And Kenny has done his homework on breeding. Now, people need to hear me. So, if the traits he's breeding into his bird is what he desires, okay, and he's used his breeding skills and what he's learned to achieve what he feels is his perfect chicken. Now, every one of us listening here tonight has a slightly different opinion on what the perfect chicken is, and that's okay. They're your chickens. It's your farm. It's your money. Okay, you make your chickens what you want them to be. Right. So I'm not gonna sit here and say, Chris, man, your chickens are garbage. Well, I'm not gonna say that because you know what? They're your chickens, and if you're happy with them, that's what's important. So Kenny's breeding program works. Okay, 100%.
I have two different books that I like.
Okay.
Yes, Kenny does have a lot of knowledge. I will never argue that. A good friend of mine sent me this book that was a lot more on my level because it was written in layman's terms. Boom.
Yeah. There you go.
That's it right there. The name of this is Start Where You Are with What You Have, A Guide to Poultry Breeding by Ralph Sturgeon.
Very good book.
Because a lot of folks, okay, let's say you wanted to start out with some birds from Frank Bradley. Well, number one, I don't think he sells a whole lot. Number two, if he did, I don't think that'd be cheap. And not everybody has the money to go drop $2,000 on a trio of birds to start with something great. So learn, get the best you can find, the best your wallet can stomach, and learn from that. And as you're using the start where you are with what you have,
let me add to what you just said. Okay,
you gotta use this too. You gotta have that is the APA standard of perfection, because everybody says their birds are the most beautiful thing out there, but you should be breeding to a standard, and the standard don't veer from. I like that one. I used to think, oh, I like that. I like that. That's a good looking bird. That's a good looking bird. But since I got my judge's license and started looking at what the different standards say, I'll just say don't do that and go to a poultry show, because you will see the serious people there that have good looking birds, and you'll have other birds that you see there that, I was at a show not long ago and I watched a lady literally cry because a judge DQ'd one of her birds that she thought was perfect. I never got closer than about 15 feet from that bird, and I could see that it definitely was a DQ bird. But that individual, I don't think has ever seen a standard book. Now, this one right here is the 150-year messed up book that I kept in the wrap because one day it'd be worth like $1 million probably. The one that I have that I refer to all the time is actually spiral bound because I went ahead and bought the spiral bound because I knew I was going to crack it anyway sooner or later from using it. So, what Jeff said, Kenny has some good books. But me personally, and I had several people recommend to me the start where you are with what you have, because at the end of the day, being a good breeder is not about going out and getting a prize winning bird and duplicating it. It's about creating a prize winning bird. So start where you are with what you have is a good guide to poultry breeding. Yes. And you need the standard of perfection so you know what you're looking for. You can go in any chicken group on Facebook and ask somebody about a bird, and you're going to get at least 10 different answers. Now, I will say if one of them posts a screenshot off of the standard of perfection and one of the board members sees it, they'll get in trouble real quick because it is very heavily protected and very well copyrighted. So I wouldn't post that in public, but those are good things to go by when getting started, for sure. And let's see, let me find Rex.
Yeah, I got it.
That one?
Oh, no, he just said he used a measuring cup. This one. So I want to. Okay, this is important. I need everybody to listen because I keep seeing these damn posts that says they're only adding the oil so it makes it stick to the grain. Horseshit. That is not the truth. Okay. We've talked on other episodes, and you're going to hear it again and again and again and again because most people have to hear something 7 or 8 times for it to sink in. Okay. A chicken's diet is optimum at around 6% fat. Okay. Oil is fat. Okay. So most bagged feed that you find on the market is only 3.5 if it's a pellet. Okay. Anywhere from 3 to 4. So we're adding this for the fat. The fat is important for the liver to function correctly and deposit cholesterol, which is not a bad thing, right? There's different kinds of cholesterol. But for all of the bird's metabolism and all its inner workings to work correctly, cholesterol is part of the bloodstream and keeps things moving. Okay. So we need the fat as part of the diet. You need fat as part of it. Not too much though. All right. Don't get crazy. Don't get stupid. Now, the reason that we talk about Carey uses coconut oil, and he'll be changing over to tallow at some point. But we use coconut oil because we're also finding that the saturated fats, right? Not the poly unsaturated or the unsaturated, but the fat, the type of fat that's in there will determine how easily the bird or any body, you, me, chickens, whatever, can process it and utilize it for better health. Okay, so the order of greatness as far as fats is tallow, then lard, then coconut oil, then either olive or flax oil, then wheat germ oil. Then after that, they're all
pretty much all the same.
They're just all oil, right? So don't, I'm not going to debate if soybean, corn oil, safflower, sunflower, all, those to me are all pretty much equals. So I don't really, it doesn't matter. All right. Tallow, lard, coconut, olive, flax, top 5 oils. Okay.
And I wanted to put this visual up real quick since you were talking about particular fat levels. 5% is a good baseline.
It's my minimum. For me,
Yeah.
that's the minimum, right? Okay. You don't want to be below 5. 6 is a lot closer to optimum. And actually, when they're younger, when they're juveniles and they're still growing, if I can get up to 7 or 8, that's a really good number. Okay.
Now, what if they're our
good
age, but they
quality fat.
act like juveniles?
Yeah. 5 or 6.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody says, oh, you can't feed that much fat. You're going to make the bird fat. Here's the truth of it, guys, right? The fat part of the diet isn't what makes your bird fat. It's that damn corn everybody wants to feed all damn winter long, right? And choke them on whole corn. Give them whole corn. Warms their body. Horse shit. Calories.
Well, I mean, the whole corn, especially because unless they're giving them the right grit, that whole corn's not. Man, it's already tomorrow afternoon before that corn breaks down.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I just wanted to pop that one up there. Let's see here. Over
there. Daniel had a really good comment. You don't only save money on feed, but there's no feed for vitamins. There's no need for vitamin shots or any other type of magic dust, right? So when you like the custom feed that Daniel's getting out there in Southern California, right? You're not adding anything to it. There's no more mixing. There's no adding fat. There's no adding breeder supplement. There's no adding nothing. Okay. You get to save a little time, but farmers don't account for their time, right? Don't matter. Time is free until you want to hire one of them, and then they're like $50 an hour. But
I was going to say you don't
at home they work for free.
But here's the way I started looking at it, because I watch a lot of different videos and listen to some other podcasts. And when you're an entrepreneur, period, whether you're a chicken farmer, a tomato farmer, whatever, if you don't have some type of value on your time, to value your time, nobody else will either. So when you raise a bird and you work with a bird, and that's a $300 stag, okay, that's because you value the time spent working with it and you put in the homework, not because you went and got a trio from somebody and hatched a few out. You put in the work. That's what makes it worth that. And people won't value your time until you do. It took me a while to learn that, because I used to do a lot of stuff myself, because in my mind I was saving money. But then when I realized there was other things that I could do to make more money than something I can pay somebody $10 an hour to do, then, because there's guys on here that have 100 stags that they're feeding every day, 50 to 100 more roosters that they're feeding every day, and they're mixing up their feed for 2 hours. Is it worth your time to spend 2 hours a day mixing feed? Or would that be better spent on buying a good feed, or pay somebody else $10 an hour and you spend them 2 hours working with your birds?
Yeah.
So I had to think about that. And it really put it in a whole lot different.
All right. So good question here. Using a really good high quality feed, around how many ounces? Okay. I need to know your climate. Because if you're really cold weather, like way up north somewhere, I might push that up to 3. If you're like Carey in Alabama, Florida, Texas, Southern California, 2.5, and then you got to keep your hands on the birds to make sure that they're not, they're not getting fat on them.
Yeah.
The efficiency, the digestive efficiency of a really well balanced feed is phenomenal, right? Because they're getting so much more out of it. Because it's
Right.
got the balanced amino acids, it's got the probiotics, it's got, right, it has no byproducts and fillers in it, right? So you're going to see a lot of things change. Like the droppings on the bird are not going to look like as big as they used to look, right? Because they're getting more out of their feed. So there's just a lot to it, but I would say probably 2.5 ounces is where you're going to be. So
Hey, speaking of
Dwayne,
droppings, everybody drop in the comments if you use tie cords. What length tie cord y'all use? Drop that in the comments while he's reading this up.
Gary wanted, or Dwayne wants to know the most important question: did you eat the Vienna sausages and the potted meat?
No,
Thank you.
it
If
went
you'd
in
have
the
said yes,
same.
we're done. We're not partnered
It
anymore.
went it went in the same bucket. Now I will tell you, over the next couple of days, my hogs are going to eat good.
Yeah, that's about the only place to put some of those feeds you bought. So Ethan, if you're actually going to bring in, if you're going to use Jen's pellet and you're going to mix some grains with it there on Guam, all the ShowPro, all the Rapido, everything's already in there. You do not need to add anything else. Okay.
Yeah, that's in that
If
pellet.
it's in that pellet. I build it in there. You know what? Jen is always top shelf, so it's in there. Trust me, it's in there. You will not need to feed anything else to go with it. Okay. All right. So what else we got?
Yeah, Daniel says 2.14 ounces of feed
Yeah.
because that's. I mean, I know he's feeding a good custom blend, and like he didn't. I don't think he said earlier what he was using to measure his out, but he thought he was giving his birds 3 ounces a day,
Yeah.
and actually measured it and found out 2.14, which is great.
All right. Gay Trait wants to know, what does birdseed bring to the table for a gamefowl? Nothing. Fat birds. I I would not be using birdseed for my birds. You get a little bit more gizzard action out of it because they got to break the seeds down, but you want that anyway. Daniel started using tallow and lard. He said the hardest part is melding it to the right consistency to mix it in, but he's got it figured out. So he's in good shape.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it melted down, and then I'm going to mix like olive oil with it to keep it in a liquid form. I got to figure out the right ratio on how much to mix because I don't want to take away from the tallow, but I also don't want it to go back to thick and juicy.
All right. So oregano oil, does it have a place for breeding and laying hens? Um, there's
Strong.
there's only like 3 or 4 oregano oils that I trust on the market, and so make sure you got a good one, not something cheap. And okay, this is my personal opinion. Okay, so I have found that it's best if you want to use oregano oil. I like to use it maybe one day a week. Okay, I do not need to use it every day. Um, or I use it when I see several of the birds in the flock where the manure has gone runny. There's some other problem going on. I don't necessarily like to see it every day. So, how important is grit for nutrient absorption? It is extremely important. You're going to get roughly 10 to 15% increase in nutrient absorption across the board for your birds. Let's see, what's Julian say? What is better, store premix feed in? blue plastic barrel or galvanized barrel. I don't, as long as they're pretty much airtight, I don't have a preference. I use a galvanized barrel. You're going to hear a lot of people say, "Oh, don't use that because of the salts and oils, and it's going to pull the zinc off, and that's a bunch of hogwash."
Man, I had a lady try to chastise me for that.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
like,
get over it.
hey, my pigs, they wouldn't know what food was if they didn't see it come out of a galvanized trash can.
That's what I use. So,
All right.
yeah.
So the reason I asked about the tie cords earlier, when I was at a poultry show, I heard there was also Gamefowl there, and a lot of people were talking smack about, how they don't take care of their birds, this, that, and the other. That's horrible, blah, 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 blah. And I wanted to say, well, you're an idiot. But, I'm trying to be a nice guy. That's a new thing. Um, and I just
Come on,
said,
Buff.
well,
Talk
I said,
faster.
well,
Let's go.
all right. I said, well, so most people use a 6-foot tie cord. And if you build your run space based off 10 square foot for bird, you got a 6-foot tie cord, because they specifically were talking about birds on cords and barrels. I said, how much room you think that bird's got? So I asked all y'all about that, and I got anywhere from 5 to 10 as an answer. And 6.92 was the average when I added them, math. So if you do that, a bird that is on a 6.92 foot long tie cord has 21.74 square feet of space for that bird. And I'm like, I told a lady, I said, do you realize the bird on a 6-foot tie cord has over 20 square foot of space? How much room do your birds have in your run? And I just got a go to where look from this little silky person, and they walked off. It wasn't the one crying. I didn't make the lady cry. But that tells me, hey guys, folks look at everything we do. And if you want to make your life easier when you go places, think about stuff like that. Because I know gamefowl people that treat a lot of their birds better and feed them better than, sadly, some people do their kids. But PETA's not the one holding that up on a billboard. So I just wanted to share that with y'all.
So where's Mill Branch located? Because, Carey has perfect feed, right? Depending on where you're at in the country, I can connect you with other feed mills, or Carey will ship it to you. But, so there's a couple guys in California. Carey's got pretty much the eastern half of the country covered. So that's. But
yeah, there's a guy out in California. His name's Chino.
Yeah, Chino and Lonnie.
And Lonnie both. They're making
north.
some really good feed.
Yeah. But just depends on where you're at. But we can connect you. So.
And see, so this right here, he said, I think of my bird's diet more than my personal. I used to not, and then when I started looking at poultry nutrition and started studying it, I did. And then I also started looking at mine because I'm too young to have a lot of the health problems that I was having. And if you look at this picture of me now and go stalk my Facebook for a little while, you'll notice a big difference unless you've known me for 5 or 6 years. You get your birds lined out, you'll get yourself lined out too. And then you really can tell people that your bird saved your life. We'll
So,
see y'all
Pete,
next week. Oh, sorry.
Petey, seriously, if your feed only weighs 3 ounces and you're feeding a real half of a cup, we need to talk, because there's a lot of fluff and puff in that feed, because it should weigh. It should weigh. I mean, a good nutrient dense feed, a quarter cup, is going to be 2 ounces. So it's just not adding up, right? We're off there somewhere. There's something not right. I mean,
I'd like
Dwayne
to see
says
those feed tags.
Dwayne's got a 1/3 cup and doing its weighing 2.5 ounces. That's kind of where. That's
pretty good dense feed.
Yeah. All right. I don't see any more. Yep.
I will see y'all next week. Jeff.
I don't know where I'm going to be.
We don't even know what time
I'll try to be here.
In.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be completely inverted, 13 hours ahead. So, I don't know. Yeah. So I'll try to be here. I'll do my best. Okay. No promises.
I'll see y'all next week. Till then, keep them crowing.
We would like to take a moment to thank our friends over at ShowPro Farm Supply for their generous sponsorship and support. Whether you're raising heritage poultry, show poultry, gamefowl, or other species of livestock, ShowPro offers custom formulated feeds and supplements to help your animals reach their full genetic potential. And they don't stop at livestock. They also carry Alumacoop's movable poultry housing, plus a full line of Fertrell farm and garden products, so your whole homestead gets what it needs to thrive. Check out ShowPro Farm Supply, where nutrition meets know-how.